with no further ado, man, we're going to get into why you guys are here today to hear all of this breaking news of kind of what's going on in the space. And the first thing that we're
Hmm.
going to actually talk about is the changes to the supplemental claims process. Now, what's going on here, Mr. Davis is definitely going to break it down. It's actually some groundbreaking and some revolutionary things that are happening here that's going to have a large impact on that process. So, first, Mr.
Hmm.
Davis, for those that may not understand the supplemental claim process, please give them like an intro of what it means to fill out a supplemental claim. And then also we can get right into talking about what changed so much and why this is going to be so groundbreaking for our veterans.
Most definitely, most definitely. Thank you. So when we're talking about a supplemental claim, typically the supplemental claim is a claim that has been previously denied, right? There was some revisions in regards to the name, the verbiage, right? They just changed the name from a reopened claim to a supplemental claim. So when that change happened, that supplemental claim is ultimately just a reopened denied claim. All right. So typically, when you are reopening a denied claim, you must have specific two things available in that reopen and deny claim, and that's new and material evidence. Okay, new and material evidence. It's very important that you have that. Okay, because typically, if you don't have that, the VA is actually able to administratively deny you just off the back. Okay, so you must have that. Okay, and that's whether if it was called a reopen and or called a supplemental claim. So either or, you want to make sure that you have that available. Okay, so and ultimately, as we go down the process to submit a reopened or supplemental claim, which is a claim for previously denied conditions, they go through the process, review your evidence, and once they review your evidence, they make a decision. Right? Typically, that decision could be granted or denied. Hopefully, it's denied. I mean, hopefully it's granted, right? But if it is denied, you always can give us a call here at Veterans for Veterans. We'll be able to service you here. But if it's granted, typically they will be able to grant your service connected disability with an effective date of back to the date of claim. All right. And what the date of claim is that's the date that you're actually submitting your claim. Okay. I don't want that ever to get confused because there are some different type of avenues and on how that effective date could change, but we're going to focus on that scenario. Okay. So once you submit a supplemental claim, once it's granted from the date you have submitted that claim. Okay. So always keep that in the back of your mind. However, as of March 31st, 2023, so I want you guys to understand, again, drum roll, please. Hey, listen, what's happened is that a supplemental claim now can be actually processed, right? However, it does not need to only be processed from your date of claim. You can actually submit as something called an intent to file a year prior to your supplemental claim. And now an intent to file can be attached to your supplemental claim just as a normal new or increased claim that you submit. Okay. And that's amazing. And why I tell you it's amazing, because for veterans, typically it takes time for those veterans to be able to garner their evidence, to be able to prove, to get their case file on how they're going to be able to submit a new claim. So this right here, now you can submit an intent to file that's going to preserve your effective date all the way up to 365 days, a year's time frame. And now you're able to gather your evidence, make sure you have everything that you need, and then you can submit your claim. Okay. And you won't be penalized for that time. Typically, a lot of veterans were penalized before in the old process, before March 31st, right, of 2023. Many veterans were penalized, okay? And when they were penalized, what it was, they were penalized by not receiving that pay from the intent to file. They was actually receiving the pay from the date that they submitted the claim. Okay. Ultimately, this is going to be able to help a lot more veterans to put a little bit more income in their pocket from their back pay because they've been fighting for these benefits for so long and this entitlement for so long, right? It's actually going to get you what you deserve. Okay. So ultimately, this was an amazing win for veterans. And I think you guys need to really, really take heed to this and think about reopening some of the claims that you were previously denied for.
Okay, definitely, definitely. So, wow, man, wow, that's definitely kind of again groundbreaking, and definitely let's kind of
Yeah.
unpack it a little bit now, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. I know that was a mouthful, right?
no, no, absolutely. No, no, you explained it pretty well. So I definitely kind of have it down packed. But yeah, let's make sure we all understand. So now when you submit an initial claim, you have your intent to file a date, and then you have a year to submit that claim. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have your intent to file and you have a year to submit that claim. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I guess why that's important is that when you put in that intent to file date, once your claim is submitted and then it's reviewed and hopefully granted, you are going to receive back pay up until that intent to file date, correct?
Yes, sir. So your effective date, okay, the date that that you come into effect of pay would be from your intent to file date.
Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, so that works. So so let's say a veteran took, almost like the full year to file their claim, and then the VA takes a few months to review it. The veteran may receive a back pay of maybe 13, 14 months of payments, correct?
It could very well be so. Yes, I mean, because essentially, right? And again, these are averages that fluctuate. Okay, so when you're talking about a supplemental claim could take 4, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It could be even longer, 8 months, 9 months. It could be even longer, depending on the backlog, depending on the regional office, depending on who actually obtains your claim, depending on the evidence. It's so many different variations and factors, but it could take very well over a year. But as long as you have your intent to file submitted, you don't lose any time.
Okay.
You don't lose any time.
No, that's important to understand because when the veterans submitted their initial claim on the things that did get approved, they were getting that large back payment, right, from that intent to file date. That being their effective date, they were getting at those, large back pay payments. And I guess what it sounds like is that with the supplemental claims process, there was no intent to file date. So they only received back payment for the time between submission and approval, which let's say it
Yes,
was
sir.
only 4 months, right? Let's say
Yes, sir.
yeah, so they would only receive 4 months, but if they had an intent to file in, it took them 11 months to actually file, and then it took
Hmm.
4 months to render a decision. Now we have back payment for those 11 months plus those
Hmm.
4 months for the decision for a total of 15 months of back payment. So that's
Yes, sir.
that's huge, man. That's very huge, right? Because
That-
yeah, it goes
Go ahead.
from getting 4 months of payments to 15 months in that particular scenario.
Yes, sir. Because you have to think about it like this, you guys. Just as you very well laid out, is that the timeline. Most veterans we have lives, right? So keeping up with these things is a little bit difficult at times. So it may take you 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 12 months on the last day to submit your supplemental claim, right? And when that happens, right? It still takes the VA some time to go ahead and submit that. Go ahead and process the claim because they have to review evidence, have to go through everything, go through their processes, right? And once they go through their processes, guess what? Now you're able to go ahead and get your intent to file date. Get your intent to file date as your effective date, which could ultimately could be a larger back pay, could be a small back pay, but it could be back pay just in general if you're increased to a compensable rating. Okay, I don't want to put the expectation out there that everyone's going to get a back pay. You must have a compensable rating. Okay, so if you submit that claim, right? And it goes all the way back to your date of intent to file. At that point, you'll be able to receive the back pay that you're warranted from that increase.
No, definitely. No, this is huge. This is huge too because
Yeah.
I've learned throughout kind of working through the process with veterans that oftentimes veterans you know they may get denied and they may wait like years to kind of refile their claim because they're just like, no, I don't really have the motivation. So, I mean, this
Mhm.
here kind of clearly kind of gives some extra motivation to go ahead and kind of get the ball rolling on that process.
No, true indeed, and and that's the thing. As a veteran, and again, and I can't speak for all veterans. I can only speak for myself. Typically, again, once you're told no once, that door is closed. That door is closed, and I'm going to tell you why. Veterans, again, and I can't speak for all veterans, but I know some of my buddies and myself, as we go through our lives, and once we're told no, ultimately we want to overcome that objective ourselves. So when we're dealing with a federal agency such as the Department of Veterans Affairs, that's no climbing that hump typically, right? So they go on about their lives. All right, they're going on about their lives, but ultimately, it's ways that you can be able to receive service, and we want to be one of those outlets. But typically, when a veteran is told no, they typically shut that door. And we don't want that to be of a real issue here. So we want to be able to make sure that we're opening doors for you guys rather than shutting them. And this information and education is always going to be able to be held front and center. But again, this is a huge, huge win for veterans. I do want to highlight one specific point, though, right? Because I don't want all veterans thinking that if they submitted a supplemental claim in 2020, that it's going to go all the way back to 2020 if it hasn't been decided upon, right? So what happens is that the cutoff date is July 30th, 2021. Okay, July 30th, 2021. So anything thereafter, if there is an intent to file that is prior to a year, you're able to get that back pay from that if you're granted. Okay. But anything before that, okay, anything before that date of the July 2021, July 30th, 2021, it does not apply. It does not apply. All right. So I really want that those dates and times really matter. All right. And typically, again, this was fought by the Military Veterans Advocacy Group versus Department of Veterans Affairs, Secretary of Department of Veterans Affairs, and they won. And this was a huge win. So ultimately, with this judgment, a lot of veterans are going to be compensated for that time that they missed out on when gathering much of their evidence. Okay.
Absolutely. No, that's a good point, man. Going back into 2021. So now, do you kind of have like a practical example of how that would kind of look like as far as, so they're reviewing people that, filed claims or had an intent to file in going back into 2021. So do you have like a practical example of like what would that process look like or who would potentially qualify for being recognized under this new provision and going back that far?
Yeah. So, to be very frank with you, I don't think there's going to be some type of push for the VA to look back that far in other claims that was submitted during that time frame. Again, it's so fresh and so new. I'm sure some of this regulation has not even been applied to the regional offices, right, or direction or anything of that nature. So, what I would tell you is this: is that you look for yourself as a veteran first and foremost to see if that's going to be applied, because you need to check your rating decision. You need to keep up to date with your times, dates, and also disabilities, because again, as a veteran, we have multiple disabilities that we deal with on a regular basis. So again, just as though we're keeping up with our finances, we need to keep up with our health, we need to keep up with our dates for our service connected disabilities. Okay. But with that being said, an example would be is a veteran who is actually receiving let's say, a denial for a foot condition in July 2022. Okay. Or I'm sorry, not July, but July, let's say August 15th, 2021. Okay. However, prior to that, they submitted an intent to file. Okay. July, right? July. So with that intent to file, it's going to go all the way back. It's going to go back to the date of July 2021. Okay. So if you have a claims file, if you have a supplemental claim that you submitted in August 2022, however, you submitted an intent to file July 30th, 2021 or thereafter, your claim, your supplemental claim that was granted should go all the way back to that July 30th date. Okay, to that July 30th date. So that's a huge win. And there's going to be some veterans or is going to try to access this. And I want you guys to go ahead and make sure that you try to access this and make sure that you're utilizing the information that's provided. Okay, so this is a huge win, and I want you guys to understand that these intent to file dates are here to support you and your family. So make sure that you do not leave this on the table.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, because even though before this new provision here, intent to file dates weren't recognized for supplemental claims, but obviously when you go in to va.gov and you file a claim, you start that process, it automatically generates an intent to file date, although before it wasn't recognized for supplemental claims for back pay purposes, you always had that intent to file date once you kind of either filled out the physical form or went on to kind of start inputting that information on that va.gov account.
Yes, sir. Typically, that's how it was arranged. Before, like I said, earlier, it is a it was called a reopen claim. You will only reopen it if you had additional new and material evidence. So if you have new and material evidence, and it's very specific in what they discuss as material to be. Again, that's a later video. We'll go ahead and break that down into detail. But if you have that afforded to you, what's going to happen is that they're just going to open the claim from the date that you submit that claim. There are other caveats amongst that I don't want to get into because I don't want to make this an elongated discussion in regards to effective dates. But it would start from that date that you submitted the claim.
Absolutely.
That's when it would
That
start.
that works. That works. And yeah, I mean, and that's kind of ground zero on where you want to start with your research and kind of start going into looking at that process. If you submitted a reopen claim or if it was called a supplemental by the time you did that, then hey, you can go in, look at when you started that process of an intent to file, and the VA could possibly owe you some money.
Yeah, I mean, you fought for it. You guys fought for the country, right? These are the laws and regulations and updated directives that a lot of times that aren't explained, that a lot of times that aren't put out on the forefront. That's going to actually give you the information for you and your family to support your family because you fought for this country, and now you're dealing with disabilities from that time frame. At this point, you're afforded these benefits. Okay, because it is a benefit for you. All right.
Absolutely. So now, if they wanted to learn more about this process, I know it's so very new. Could they find
Mhm.
any information online? Would they be able to contact anyone if they wanted some more information about this, or even if it's like, hey, man, you're right, it is time for me to reopen my claim and submit a supplemental claim. Would they be able to get any kind of guidance on doing that?
Yeah, most definitely. One place I do know is that you can actually give us a call down at Veterans for Veterans. We'll definitely provide you the information of this robust change. We want to make sure that you have everything that you need and be able to support you. Okay, but for any other outlets, I'm not 100% sure because it's so new, right? It's so new. Again, it just got deployed. So with that deployment, we want to be able to support you, at least being able to answer basic questions for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, this is why this is breaking news, man. As soon as Kenneth found out the information, he was very excited that we get here and kind of get this recorded and get this right out to you because this is so important. And when you're talking about intent to file dates and effective dates and that sort of thing, every single day matters, right? And we don't want to lose any time getting this information to the veterans. So this is why we're here for you, bringing this breaking news update and actually publishing this out of order of some of the other content. And I think we're going to start making a habit of this, man. Any breaking news, we really want to start giving that to you guys so that you kind of understand what's going on and you could be able to hear the information, from us as experts in the space to be able to communicate that to you.
And also, if you guys have any topics or anything that you would love to touch on, or even ask some questions down below in the comments, we'll definitely reach out to you, definitely respond to you. I mean, you can always reach out to us, and we'll contact you as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely, man. Really appreciate you, Kenneth, on giving this breaking news update. This is going to be very important for the veteran community. If you guys have any questions, comments, like you said, reach down in the comments, leave a comment. Our contact information is down here as well. As far as social media and websites that you can get some other basic information or reach out to actually schedule a consultation if you did want to kind of hire a claims expert for the services of helping you with your supplemental claim, or even if you haven't filed a claim yet and you're just watching this to learn more about the process, we also handle initial claims as well.
Yeah, we would definitely love to give you some assistance in every area. Ultimately, worst case scenario, we just want to provide you education. That's it. That's what we're here
Absolutely.
for.
Absolutely, man. Well, Kenneth, again, thanks again. We got some more breaking news for you on the real estate side of that. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you soon. Peace.